Peter Stokes, president of HAG.
It's bad enough that Sega Genesis has the most 16-bit games, but this new Sonic the Hedgehog, oh, he really doth my doilies. They say he's incredibly fast. Well, what's the hurry, mister? And about his attitude. Smarty pants. Why can't it be more like that nice boy Mario?
Whoa, look at that guy. What did she say he was called? Sonic? What a little rapscallion, all about attitude and expression, a beacon of speed and what it means to be cool and rad, dude. He sports a striking, iconic design to this day. A nice blue with red shoes for contrast, his skin color striking a balance into the whole thing to wrap it up into being an instant classic. The shapes that make up this guy are round but sharp, his limbs bending in a way not too different from how a rubber hose character used to animate. As more games released, his design stayed the same render-wise. For sprites, he went from this blue purplish color in Sonic 1 to mostly fix his color to be a saturated blue, and Sonic 3 rounded out his design a little while featuring a slightly deeper blue. Between this, we also got the Junio design used for the Sonic CD intro and outro respectively, designed by Hisashi Iguchi of Studio Junio. They feature a different take on Sonic's shoes, oversized cuffs for the socks and gloves, while making his limbs thinner to accentuate that, using a palette similar to Sonic 1 with a slightly deeper color. After that, rolled in the adventure era. Our little blue boy was growing up to be a young man. Obviously this meant he'd grow a little, his blue darkening, limbs stretching, and a whole lot of talking. This was also reflected in the art made by Yuji Uekawa going forward. He was loud. Bold poses are an art style that marked the Sonic franchise like no other. His Sonic Adventure 2 design made his blue more saturated, given bigger spines, actually bringing a bigger change to the design, given that Adventure 1 more closely resembles what Sonic 3 Sonic would look like if a sprite was given the third dimension. This was the start of what now dubbed modern Sonic would look like. Taller, limber, full of attitude. Sonic had grown up into an icon of change, where most early fans watched his character quite literally grow up. Modern Sonic maintained most of his design through countless games. Sometimes he was a deeper blue, sometimes his spines were shorter, longer, what the f. But you get the picture. This is modern Sonic, an all grown up version of the character we all know and love. Look, SEGA just announced a game to celebrate both the classic and modern eras, Sonic Generations. The main appeal of the game is not only can you play as modern Sonic and classics, Were his limbs always this short and thick? I swear he had deeper colors too. Well, whatever. Our good old pal Sonic is back, almost just how you remember him. The dialogue from the modern era only characters noting on Sonic's younger look is pretty cute. They can recognize that he's not the exact Sonic they know, but it gets kinda ridiculous when Cream notes on Sonic's less spiky appearance, and not the fact that, you know, Mr. Sonic is now her size. The thing is that Sonic doesn't converse with them at all. Why is Tails the one doing all the talking? Did we forget his voice lines in CD? He's not mute. Surely, SEGA would never retroactively exclude these voice lines from re-releases of the classic games while delisting the original versions from Steam. Well, I guess I should just be thankful for what I got. After all, it's very unlikely we will ever get to see this fella in the future, since this was a game to celebrate Sonic's history. There's even a mention of the time stones by modern Sonic, further strengthening the link between him and his classic self being one and the same character, simply one younger and the other older. From there, Sonic would get a few more games, Sonic 4 in its mixed reception, Lost World in its mixed reception, Sonic Boom in its mixed reception. Then came something new. Project Sonic 2017 it was called before it got revealed. The trailer featuring a destroyed world, Eggman seemingly having gotten the upper hand and now ravaging the city with giant robots. Of course, Sonic can't face this alone, so what? Huh? Classic Sonic? What's going on here? And the Tails? What do you mean from another dimension? You know this is younger Sonic. Modern Sonic himself makes a little Generations joke when it was established in that game that classic Sonic was there due to time shenanigans, but now he's from a different dimension? Okay, look, I don't need to play it up. Nearly everyone under the sun has criticized how classic Sonic was handled in Forces. Sonic Mania, as good as a game it is eternally linked to the game that destroyed Sonic's public perception. In both Forces and Mania, classic Sonic's design is still based on Generations' look. A personal nitpick of mine is just how busy these sprites are. Just this one sprite of Sonic has 9 different tones of blue, not counting the shading on the white parts of the design, being noticeably much brighter than any other Sonic sprites. Earlier I showed that the Sonic sprites didn't necessarily match their rendered color scheme, and the same is applied here, except this is not that good either. The earlier renders had saturated colors that really popped. Here Sonic looks weirdly desaturated and old. The other characters don't have this issue. Tails particularly looks great, but it just adds to the confusion of Sonic being intensely brighter in sprite form while he's washed out in the renders. After Force's disaster and Mania being the one good thing to come out of it, the next classic Sonic game we'd get would be Sonic Superstars. Not tied to any modern trickery finally, just a plain good old classic Sonic experience. With playable Amy, but joy. I don't really have a lot to talk about with this classic Sonic. It's still not perfect, obviously, but it's a hell of an upgrade from whatever generations of Forces were doing. No, what I do have to talk about is, now classic Sonic is younger Sonic again. Yes, Force's different dimension actually wraps itself around to classic Sonic being a younger Sonic again. Not only because of Yuzuka saying that Superstars comes before the events of Sonic Adventure 1, linking the two eras, but the official Sonic timeline confirming so. It's just so confusing to me as to why there was such a messy series of events just to confirm classic Sonic's existence as, well, classic Sonic. It doesn't even end there. Between the releases of Sonic Frontiers and Superstars, SEGA released Sonic Origins, a re-release of the classic titles, which is also a big mess. Mostly pissing off a lot of people because they delisted the classic Sonic games from Steam, forcing you to buy this lackluster package. I have my own problems with Origins that I do not have the time to get into, but the thing that pisses me off the most is SEGA going back to remove Sonic's voice lines from Sonic CD. The iconic "I'm outta here" is replaced with complete silence as Sonic jumps off screen. SEGA has been pushing this classic Sonic is mute thing for years. Since generations, we just didn't care. And they aren't consistent about this thing either. The Fleetway as well as the Archie comics have had classic Sonic speaking for literal years, and well, you can argue that it's because it would be too hard to have a protagonist for a comic where people have to constantly talk for the protagonist, but here we have a modern IDW classic Sonic comic where everybody speaks, including Sonic. So why can't he talk? He doesn't have to be a complete yapper, that's what modern Sonic does best. But would it really hurt to have him quip every once in a while? Throw out some short one-liners? Blunt and to the point to highlight his less chillax demeanor in the classic games? This is the same dude that would side-eye you if you stopped moving for a while, stomping his feet like a bitter teenager. In Sonic Generations, he acts like me when I didn't hear something someone said, and I don't want to ask them to repeat themselves a third time, so I just shrug or nod and hope that's good enough. And it makes me sad because, honestly, are new fans of the series going to actually care about this sort of thing? Probably not, because classic Sonic isn't Sega's breadwinner. It's a side series catered to the very specific demographic that still wants the classic platformer experience Sonic was recognized for in the 1990s. Sonic Frontiers, Shadow Generations, and now Sonic Crossroads are the games making up what's a new era for Sonic, while classic Sonic stumbles, modern leaps. Mania was a critical success that they did nothing with. Superstar was going to be Sonic Mania 2 but fell short. Origins, which should have been a definitive way to play the games that made up Sonic's legacy, was handled like they didn't care. Putting workers on crunch time, launching with glitches and bugs that simply didn't exist before, playing false advertisement. It was such a baffling release that I'm at a complete loss for words. I'm even stuttering, Jesus. The thing is that it's not only classic Sonic, unfortunately. A whole lot of Sonic characters have gotten their personalities mishandled by SEGA. Classic Sonic is just the worst for me because it could have been so easily avoided altogether. Tails, Knuckles, and Amy were disasters. Tails was cowardly, Knuckles was dumb, and Amy was just Amy. They've gotten better now that Frontiers is out and gave them room for improvement. But classic Sonic is still a work in progress. Not like there's no hope though. He's obviously going to be playable in Oh, that was a fake leak.